day 98 of 365 days of remembering, and here I am in my own backyard. Look at that water flowing. Trina right here. This is the seasonal creek that is on our property. We've only lived here for not even a year, and my husband spent lots of work turning it into this beautiful creek, and it's got water flowing. You can even hear it. I'm hoping you can hear it a little bit, which is a great, wonderful reminder to appreciate whatever is in front of our face these days, where we are spending way more time at home, way more time enjoying and appreciating what we have. And I am definitely appreciating this property. I'm appreciating how much land we have. I mean, if I had to, I could walk around the whole property and probably get in about 1 kilometer. And there is our garden beds. You can just barely see them in the background over there. My husband's over there working, and we have been planting stuff. And we would have planted it anyway, but it's fun that we feel like we have more time. I'm not sure why that is, considering we both work at home, but it's still fun. And there's the little creek. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is I want to talk about the written post that I put out, which was, I'm just walking up here so I can cross this little bridge that we made, crossing the little wood bridge. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is the post that I made about this idea of, is everything happening to you or for you, and how much difference a tiny little word like to for can change everything, which is what I had said in the post. But I wanted to dive in a little deeper to that. And what I want to say about it is that it very much signals perspective. It very much touches on and talks about how we choose through our perspective, not only how we feel, but in essence then what we're going to create, because our perspective dictates so much of what we have access to in any given moment, so much of what we can potentially move into in terms of our next expansion. So in any moment, we have an access point, a choice point of, say, a handful of choices, and it is our perspective that largely shapes those choices. So one of the other things that I have been saying to my family and to people is, and I think I mentioned it in the little 5-minute video yesterday, is however you see the world is exactly the way the world will be, because yet again, your perspective is powerful. It becomes the lens to which you view everything. So what I've been feeling into, and what I am encouraged to, is what would it take for me to view this through love, to view this through expansion, to view this through the clear knowing that Source has my back at all times, and that the universe is on the side of my expansion, that there is nothing going wrong, nothing could ever go wrong, because equal to my person journey, my character, my Trina journey, is my soul's journey, which is something that we sometimes forget about or we don't talk about. We sometimes think that your soul is just this pure energetic state, and yes, it is. It's connected to our inner being. It's connected to Source, but it also came in. It's coming in to become the polished diamond that it ultimately is, but it got covered in dirt and got a little rough around the edges. And so our experience in each lifetime that we go through is to help polish it, clean it, so that the light can shine so brightly, so that it becomes like you can't not know your Source. You can't not feel that pull to blend back in. And little by little by little, as we polish that diamond, that feeling gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And so here we sit in a space with all the stuff that's going on in the world, where we are being called to a refinement process to polish our diamond even more. And not only that, to recognize how we can get our character, because it really is the journey that our character is going on, and we'll do the expansion anyway. Our soul will achieve that expansion. But when we partner with our soul, when there is that multiplied, exponentialized, I don't think that's a word, but when we exponentially create our own expansion, because our person character, person class to character, and our soul, inner being, Source, is all in it together, then the co-creation just becomes that much more delicious. And in my mind, it becomes amplified and amplified and amplified, so that we can accomplish much, much more than maybe even what we set out to do. And so this thing in the collective that we all co-created is serving us in that way. And not only that, it's also serving us in a deeper way, because when I look around me, and who knows which one is true. I'm not sure what's true in this. I mean, we all have to sort of figure it out. Do we all live in our own bubble of our projection? Is everybody else extras? Are that we co-creating with everybody else? Like, how does all this work? I don't know. But for me, part of what I've come to recognize and part of what feels good to me and right to me is that everyone outside of me, being my reflection, is in essence a representation of an aspect of my own beingness waking up. You know, just as I'm waking up, every other being on this planet is also in their own state of waking up. And if they come into my vicinity, if they come into my awareness, then we're serving something for each other, and they stand in this place of, you know, what can I see in them? And sometimes it's a beautiful part of me that has already awakened so deeply, but maybe I wasn't seeing it fully. That's what happens with my partner. That's what happens with some of my best friends. And then there's those others, like maybe it's your family, or maybe it's, you know, those people that you see that just don't seem to be very awakened. They represent an aspect of you that is still waking up to itself, because the ultimate waking up is when soul and person see each other, when the character you does a quick 180, turns around and sees that aspect of yourself, sort of looks at your own soul, because every aspect of yourself that is fully seen can then merge fully back into the blendedness of your soul. I don't know if that's true, but that's just what came through, and it feels really cool and feels really right. So I am definitely going to use this state of affairs to amplify my already strong desire to live unconditionally, to stand in the place of knowing that nothing outside of me decides if I'm happy, that my happiness comes from inside of me. And so the conditions are irrelevant. They don't matter. And what a perfect time to practice that. What a perfect time to see how we're doing, sort of like a test, but without a test that really we're getting scored on in that sense. It's just a personal test. It's like when you start hiking or you start doing some kind of exercise program and you want to see how you're doing, and so you give yourself a little test and see how long it takes. I used to run up and down a mountain, well, not all the way up, but I used to go up and then run some of it, and I used to try to beat my own time. It wasn't about whether I could beat anyone else. It's just, can I beat my own time, and am I getting better and better? I was looking to see that that was happening. So in terms of our spirituality, it's the same thing. Can I see that it's easier for me to be unconditional? Can I see that I'm able to let go of whatever it is that's got me, whether it's uncertainty or a wondering or just enough already, you know, whatever the energy is. I know for me, it's been largely just this uncertainty. Yeah, I'm excited. It's so cool to think that we're on the verge of a new up-leveling. We're on the verge of some mass shift in consciousness. And yet there's a part of me that wonders what that's about. And so I recognize that within me, I still have a little bit of me that doesn't 100% stand in the place of my epicness, doesn't 100% feel in to my infinite beingness, to knowing that no matter what, I'm safe. I still have some attachment to this character. I'm not 100% ready to just let that go and decide that, you know what, it doesn't matter what happens, because that's not why I'm here. That is still something that I'm working on. And so because of this event, I got to see how I can fine-tune myself just a little bit more, how I can tune into the flow of myself, tune into my inner being, tune into my alignment, and move in the direction of the fullest expression of all that I am. And also, another important thing to remember is, because of what's going on, not only is each of us as spiritually conscious beings amplifying our desire of what we want to have. You know, what is it that you see as your biggest vision for the next evolution of this planet? What is it when we say there's a new world being born, or we're shifting from 3D into 5D? What does that mean? And what does it mean for you? Like, what is your biggest vision as a consciously spiritual being who knows that you're infinite, who knows that you're a being of love and light, who gets to stand in a place of, you know what, this is how I want the world to look like? Because when we all came to this planet, it was already done. It was already set up. There was already many systems designed and organized, and let's just face it, many of those systems were designed from a place of forgetting. And so now that we stand fully in remembering, those of us that are here, what is it that we want to create? What kind of world do we want to see? And we have to be cautious, because sometimes it's hard to think so far out of the box, like having the whole economy shift, like having money, which is not real. I mean, it's one of those things that this whole thing's an illusion, but it's really an illusion. We literally use pieces of paper and make them have meaning. We literally just amp this up and say, you're poor, you're rich, you get to live this way, you don't, instead of recognizing that just as beings of love and light, we get to have access to everything that this planet has to offer, and we could live in abundance and not lack. What does that even look like? Do we go back to bartering? Do we just, wouldn't it be cool to imagine that every being just gets in tune with their own alignment, and from that place of alignment, in any given moment, they just trust, and every little thing they could ever need comes, and we don't need to stockpile piles of money, because We just have such faith and trust that in every given moment we'll be given what we want. And are we ready for that? Like, it sounds wonderful, and yet I still have attachments to some of the conveniences I like, just as I'm sure you do. I like to go out and sit at a cafe. I like to be able to go to the grocery store and buy what I want. I still like some of those things. And so maybe this is just the first refinement step. Maybe this is just the next step of our evolution over a much longer period of time. But it's really being amplified. And I think there was a requirement to have something a little more dramatic that was going to take us to a place of being really able to see where we stand and make different decisions. So from this place, play with yourself in that sense, like play in the magic of what is possible, what potentiality, since every possibility does exist. Where do you sit with that? What would you want to see? What would you want to create? What would relationships look like? What would systems look like? How would we connect with each other? How would we connect as a family? What are the core values that we would want to see? Like, for me, it's definitely putting people and expansion and spirituality and connection to source above things like money and work, and not have this, work because it's joyful and it's passionate and because you do it anyway, but not because it's just for money, or not because it's because you think it's going to validate your worthiness. Like, how can we step away from some of those old paradigms and just shift into living a beautiful, spiritually conscious existence and support each other in doing that? So if one person isn't quite as awake as another, there's going to have to be a bridge between there and here. And so what does that look like, and what does it feel like? So I encourage you to take this opportunity to do some of those things, to hold those big desires, and to know that from that big desire, because when a desire is released and born, especially by so many people, and even if it's a desire to not feel afraid, it's a desire to feel that security, it's still wrapped up in this thing that it's going to take to move to this newest expansion, to this newest up-leveling of our consciousness, which is fear. Lack, limitation is not natural. They're not natural states of being, and that's why they don't feel good. And so from that strong place of so many people feeling this fear, so many people feeling a lack of security or a lack of something, can be born the response to that, which what is the matching end of that when they can come into alignment, when we all come into alignment, is abundance, is freedom, is like energy that gets pulled out of the air so we can all just create and have whatever we want, and many, many more levels of understanding. Like, maybe we don't need to eat so much food. Maybe we're going to be more flighty and energy based, and more based with source, and filling ourselves with prana, and less material matter based. And that's one of the shifts that's going to happen. So it's so fun to play with. I invite you to do that. I invite you to go outside, because you know how much I love being outside, and just sit with yourself, stand with yourself, just appreciate wherever you sit. And if you don't have a backyard, you just have a deck, or you don't have a lot of space, find something right now in your house, in your vicinity. It could be a being, a cat, a dog, a child, a partner, a tree, a house, your pillow, whatever it is. Just find something that you appreciate and appreciate it. I love you. I think we're all in this together, and I think we're all doing fabulous. So I will see you again soon.